All right. Hello, AP Human Geography students. Today I want to teach you guys about primate cities and the rank size rule. These are sort of two styles of organizing your country around cities. They love to talk about this stuff on the AP test, so I think I'll deep dive into it. I would have normally started out this lesson with something like, should a country have one big city where everything is done, or should a country have a whole lot of kind of middle-sized cities all over the country? What style's better? And that's literally what these two styles are about. So primate city is your country has one super city where everything is done, and rank size rule is there's a bunch of kind of middle cities all over your country. So let's check it out. Okay. Oh, dang it. I needed to load this up correctly, and I did not do that. So let's go to where I wanted to be. All right, here we go. Urban hierarchy. This is a term you got to know. Urban hierarchy, the ranking classification of cities, communities based on their populations. So what is the top of the urban hierarchy of the United States? Well, it would be New York City. Number 2 would be Los Angeles. The urban hierarchy of Nevada, Las Vegas is number 1, Reno's number 2, and we don't care about anything else. So in the world, Tokyo is the biggest city in the world. The second biggest city in the world might be Shanghai, maybe Beijing. I don't know that one off the top of my head, actually. I think Seoul was the second biggest city in the world for a while. So yeah, we're gonna see what's better. Should your country have one big super city, or should it have many cities throughout it? So this officially is the urban hierarchy pyramid. I don't know if the AP people will really ask you all these questions, but you should just know a hamlet smaller than a village. And then a conurbation. Ooh, wow, that's a college level word right there. That's a super, super big city. I would think there's only maybe 3 conurbations in the United States. So Chicago, LA, and New York. All right. First, let's talk about the rank size rule. The rank size rule. If all the cities in a country are placed in order, so you got your really big city over here and then your tiny cities over here, there's sort of like this step feature, it's like this city has the most people, and then the next city has, less, but, they're just kind of stepped in this consistent order. And yeah, each one will have a population half the size of the preceding city. So if your super city has 10 million, your next city will have 5 million, and then your next city will have, is it 2.5 or is it, it's probably 2.5. Sometimes the math is a little weird. And I'll show you some examples of rank size rules, and you'll be like, Mr. Brown, the math isn't perfect. But if the math is close, then the rank size rule is what the country has. So it's sort of spreading out how valuable your cities are. I mean, you still will have one very big city, but you'll have a lot of medium-sized cities in your country as well. So, all right, here's the official map of the rank size rule. Yeah, I said right there, the math doesn't have to be perfect. So the largest city, and then the second largest city is a half of rank city 1, and then the third largest city is a third of the city of rank 1. The fourth largest city is a fourth of the city of rank 1. So yeah, the math is actually pretty easy. It's like if it's the 5th biggest city, it should have a 5th of the population of the largest city. So even in rank size rule, you will have one very big city in your country, probably almost always going to be the capital city. But yeah, it's not necessarily the case. All right, so let's check out New Zealand and Australia. Both New Zealand and Australia are examples of rank size rule. Okay, so the bigger cities in New Zealand, they have 3.5 million people, and sort of as the cities go on, you're like, well, there's kind of 2 big cities over here, fine. But as they go down, it's a pretty consistent blend of how many people live in all your major cities. Australia is the same way. And I'll tell you this. If the country is geographically larger, odds are it follows rank size rule. And that makes sense, because in a geographically large country, you're going to have a whole bunch of people living on the West Coast, a whole bunch of people living on the East Coast, and they've kind of got to balance it out. Like, it's kind of hard to have one super city operate over a giant geographic space. The large super city tends to be in a more consolidated country. Okay, so yeah, here's rank size rule. Germany is a great example of rank size rule. I've seen them use that a couple times on the AP test. So yeah, Berlin has close to 3.5 million people. Hamburg has about half of Berlin. Munich has about a third of Berlin. So yeah, Germany's math is the best for rank size rule, showing that yes, Berlin is the big city of Germany, but Hamburg, Munich, Cologne, Frankfurt, like they matter too. Okay, what's this up. Okay, so the next topic, primate cities. This is the opposite of rank size rule. It's saying that your country has one super city that is basically the only city that matters. Like, no other cities are really relevant or important, and you can kind of skip them. Example of this is, of course, the United Kingdom, the super city, primate city being London. It's the math of a primate city is it has to be more than twice as large as the second city. So, rank size rule, the second city will be half the population, but in primate city, it's going to be at least double that population, so it'll be a fourth. So the way you can tell if a country's primate city is if one city's population just blows all the other cities way out of the water, more than double that. So, and yeah, not only is the city super huge, but the city's influence is just where the whole country exists. Like, London is the political capital, it's the economic capital. Look, I went to the United Kingdom back in 2009, and when I was there, I basically went to London, and that was it. And I feel like I saw the country. Okay, so more examples of primate cities. Paris. Paris is a perfect example. Paris's population is 9.6 million, and the second biggest city in France, Marseille, has a population of 1.3 million. So Paris is like 8 times as big as the second biggest city in France. So yeah, Paris is a perfect example of a primate city. London is the same thing. London is 7 times as big as Birmingham. So all the other cities in the UK are functionally not relevant. Mexico City is another example. Its population is 8.6 million. Guadalajara only a fourth the size of 1.6 million. So yeah, when your second city is a fourth of the size of your biggest city, you must have a primate city in your country. That's the easy way to do the math of this. So yeah, let's start talking about sort of the pros and cons of both sides of this. I think that's what's coming up. Okay, here it is. Yeah, see, look, I know my own prezzies. So advantages. So if you have a primate city, it's great for business, for services, for tourism. It's sort of like the hub of your whole country, and that's absolutely the case with Britain and France. I mean, London and Paris, that's what they're all about. Yeah, international trade and business. Just about every major company in the world has an office in London. I'm pretty confident I can say that. Because, yeah, London is just this center of business and commerce, and hardly anybody has any offices in Edinburgh or Coventry or Birmingham or Manchester. Like, no one really cares, sorry. Central transportation, of course, it's really the big city. It has the high-end goods, it has the huge threshold for the whole country. If you want things to get done in the United Kingdom, you go to London. You don't go anywhere else. And I could have said all those same things for Paris, too. Nothing else really matters in France except for Paris. Paris, I think I can confidently say Paris is probably 80% of the economy of France. It's incredible. But let's talk about some disadvantages, though. So the disadvantage of having this one super city is that rural people will feel very, disconnected, especially if you're on the other side of the country. Like, right now, Scotland is talking about breaking away from the United Kingdom. And yeah, that probably wouldn't have been the case if Edinburgh, their big city, was a bigger city. But because everything's done in London, they feel a little disconnected. Definitely an imbalance of development. I mean, all roads lead to Rome is the traditional phrase, but I'll tell you, all roads lead to London or Paris, and all the infrastructure around there is going to be great, while the infrastructure in Scotland, probably nobody cares about it. Yeah, all the powers there, I mean, both those are political capitals. All the representatives got to go there. Sucks up the wealth, sucks the human resources, and yes, it becomes a center of unemployment, crime, pollution. There's been some serious unrest in London over recent years. So, okay, so Bangkok. This is all right. I said London and Paris are good examples. That's true. But if you looked at the most primate of primate cities on all the planet Earth, it would have to be Bangkok, Thailand. Bangkok is 40 times bigger than any other city in Thailand. Like, it's not even close. It's, you want things to get done in Thailand, you go to Bangkok. And I've explored Thailand. It's a fantastic country. And parts of Bangkok are kind of shady and janky, but Bangkok, it's a world-class city. Like, they've got a pretty big airport, and they've got freeways, and they've got everything you could have in an American city. But when I went to, like, Koh Samui and Chiang Mai, these other cities in Thailand, like, they didn't really have good roads or internet or cell phone service. So they kind of put all their money in Bangkok, and they just ignored the rest of Thailand. And that's kind of sad. But that's really what primate cities are all about. It's like, this is the part of our country that we're really focusing on. And Bangkok's the example of that. So, yeah, here's just the statistics for you. As you can see, I don't even know how to say this name, but this is the second biggest city in Thailand, and it's not even close. Bangkok is everything. And here's another thing. Typically, primate cities are in the center of the country. And, yeah, I mean, if you look geographically, Bangkok is pretty central in Thailand. So that's another thing you'll see throughout. Yeah, here's the bar graph. Easy to tell it's a primate city. It's kind of the only thing that matters. Okay, and yes, all these problems, of course, are things you can expect. Is that a pig? Yeah, I think that's a pig eating people's trash. Flooding, garbage, poor planning. Yeah, usually you don't have very good city planning with these things. Slums. Yeah, there's some problems in Thailand, and the argument is, if they had spread the development out, if Thailand had, say, improved some of these other cities, grown their populations, given them some prominence, then some of these problems in Bangkok wouldn't be as extreme. So that's the idea here. Okay, yes, primate city. The largest city in a state, generally 2 or 3 times the size of the second city, represents the city's national culture. I guarantee you, if a country's a primate city, it's the city you've heard about in that country. Like, for example, if I say Egypt, what would you say? Hopefully you say Cairo, so something like that. All right. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. So, London, Paris, Vienna. Oh, Vienna, Austria. Who would have thought of that one? Mexico City, Jakarta. Huh. And Tokyo. Yeah, of course Tokyo is a primate city. Duh. It's just so big. Nothing can catch up to it. So, all of these are examples of primate cities. There you go. Oh, yeah. Let me look at this. Is Nevada, if we were our own country, would we be a primate city country? And I think the easy answer is yes. Las Vegas is super duper big. But then again, in my head, I'm putting Las Vegas plus Henderson plus North Vegas plus Boulder City. We are kind of one big urban entity. But check this out, though. If you pretended that Las Vegas and Henderson were all super separate and we kind of spread them out, then you can look at the population and you'd be like, okay, Reno is about half of Las Vegas. Henderson is about a third of Las Vegas. North Las Vegas is about a fourth of Las Vegas. So yeah, if you consider the city-urban boundaries, I would argue that we are kind of rank size rule. But the reality is, Las Vegas, Henderson, North Vegas, we're all one urban entity. So yeah, our state is probably primate. All right, so countries that lack primate cities. So these are countries that they're either rank size rule or they're just not applicable to either model. Most countries in the world are applicable to one model or the other. And I can pretty confidently tell you that if a country is not primate, it's gonna be rank size rule. Like, that's kind of what you can expect. All right, but yeah, India's weird because there's so many really big cities in India, and yeah, Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai. So all these big cities in India, they've got just tons and tons of people. And the math might not be exact with rank size rule, but it's pretty close. China, Canada, Australia, Brazil, they're also non-primate cities. And as I said in the beginning, if your country is geographically larger, you are most likely rank size rule. Okay, yeah, Paris, Mexico, Thailand, I already said all that. And then, yeah, Bangkok, yeah, 80% of phones are registered in Bangkok. Pharmacies in Bangkok. Cars are in Bangkok. The whole rest of Thailand just doesn't matter. Countries without a primate city. So yeah, Australia, as I said, Australia is a big continent, and that's also its own country. And yeah, Sydney and Melbourne, they're basically the same population, more or less. So it's not really a rank size rule, and it's not really a primate city. So maybe Australia doesn't really apply to either one. But yeah, Melbourne is the political capital. Sydney is the economic capital. So Australia tried to absolve some of the problems of a primate city by splitting the responsibilities of where government and economics would be focused within their country. So yeah, let's check it out. Arguments for and against primate cities in lower developed countries. If your lower developed country has a primate city, it makes it pretty easy for foreign companies to put an office there, to invest there, to sort of try to improve that one city at a time. But the problem, if you're a lower developed country and you have a primate city, is that that's the part of your country that matters, and the whole rest of your country more or less gets ignored. The land prices go up, you'll create some urban slums. You better have a good plan if you start building up a primate city in your country. Regional primate cities. Yeah, so let's keep breaking up the United States. What is the primate city of the western half of the United States? The obvious answer is Los Angeles. What is the primate city of Northern California? The obvious answer is San Francisco. What's the primate city of Cascadia, the sort of Washington, Oregon area? The answer is Seattle. So there is kind of a city that if you just looked at Northern California, you could kind of cut it up and say, okay, the San Francisco Bay Area, this is where so many of the people live. All these other parts of Northern California sort of don't matter. So yeah, that's just primate city on an even smaller scale that's not even countrywide. Yeah, do we have a primate city? So I think, if I remember at the top of my head, the population in New York is like 15 million. The population of LA is like 10 million. So if we did have a primate city, LA's population would have to be like 6-7 million. So we sort of don't. And also, the United States, we're a bigger country. So it kind of follows my rule that we are not primate. If anything, we are rank size rule. And I mean, look, LA goes on for a big distance. You know, is Riverside in LA? Is Anaheim in LA? Ugh, these are questions that are hard to answer. But I think if you divided cities up in where you separated their suburbs from the city themselves, you could see that we are more rank size rule than anything else. Okay, rural settlement patterns. Settlement patterns, so much fun. How am I doing on slide clicks? We're good. So rural settlement patterns. There's a couple different ways you can design a rural city. There's clustered, dispersed, and linear. Clustered and dispersed, you guys should have got that from your key issues. Oh man, clustered. Another word for clustered is nucleated. You know, if any of you are in science class, you know, nucleus, you like bring it all together. But yeah, so the linear rural settlement pattern is something that was not in the book, so I definitely got to discuss that. A linear pattern is where basically the whole small village or town is located entirely by a road or a river. And honestly, today rivers aren't that common, so they're going to be by roads. And why would you design your city in these three different ways? So let me first talk these through. A dispersed village pattern would be set up around a farming community, almost always, because everybody wants to live next to the land where they grow their food, so they're going to spread their houses out, kind of dot them all over the countryside to be close to their farms or their ranches or whatever. All right, nucleated. This will typically be fitting to a geographic feature, like maybe there's kind of a small valley, and everybody wants to live in the valley because it's got better temperature controls, might have a river, something like that. But it's when kind of all the houses are in this clustered, close group together. You'll see that also in like some older villages in Europe where they gotta protect yourselves from the bandits and stay close. Why else would you have a nucleated? Well, usually nucleated is close to like some roads or a river as well, and everybody just wants to be close to that advantageous feature in the geography. But linear settlements are probably the most interesting type because they're typically newer, and you'll see this if you do the drive from Las Vegas to California. You go through like Barstow or Baker, and all the houses, all the businesses are as close to the freeways as they can possibly be because that's basically where the money comes in and out every day. The whole city was designed to sort of be this relationship to the people coming in back and forth on the freeway. So a linear pattern is something I hope you notice in the future, that nobody lives in the outskirts of Baker, California. Everybody's as close to the freeway as they can possibly be. So here's the challenge. The choices of these pictures, it's going to be linear, dispersed, or clustered nucleated. Oh, what's the word they use in the AP textbook? I don't remember. But clustered and nucleated are the same thing. So let's check it out. All right. Settlement patterns. Linear, everybody's by the road. Dispersed, they're spread the heck out. And nucleated, well, they're all sort of close to each other, and they might be close to the road, but it's a really tight, confined area. And yeah, with nucleated, you will see some places that don't like immediately touch the road, but with linear, everybody's gonna be touching the road more or less. So here we go. What is this? I would say nucleated. There you go. What's this one? Also nucleated. A little bit linear as well. This one, very nucleated. That's absolutely the answer. Dispersed. For sure, dispersed. This one, nucleated. Yeah, this is kind of interesting because you see this is a farming community, but all the houses are close together rather than close to their fields. Interesting. Okay, this one, dispersed. Yep. This one, I'm going to say linear because things are real close to this road. And it's kind of the whole village is in one long line. And yeah, some of these houses don't immediately touch the road, but it's pretty clear to tell that this community was built along this road like this. All right, this one, dispersed, dispersed, dispersed. Easy answer on this one, linear, for sure. This one, oh, this one's a little tricky. I would say linear still, because you can tell that this road is kind of the only advantage. If I zoomed in on, say, this zone specifically, I might say nuclear or nucleated. This one, linear. There's a big kind of curvy road here, and the whole community is built in this horseshoe shape to go along with the road. This one, also linear. Yep, because the whole community is based along these roads. If there were some more houses out here, or maybe this community got built up a little bit, I might say nucleated. This one, I'm going to say dispersed. And there we go. Okay, I'll save this next clip for another video. But this is kind of, man, this is a really fun activity. I'll get into it next time. All right, peace out.